So today, what I'm going to do is I am going to be plucking my eyebrows and roasting my favorite book, The Catcher in the Rye. I know I just called Catcher in the Rye my favorite book in my last video, but that doesn't mean that I don't have any questions. So let's begin. So first things first, Holden. Now, I remember when I was reading this book when I was 16, I knew that Holden was rich, but I forgot how rich he was. I knew that he went to a private school, but then at the same time, I guess I just didn't realize how rich you have to be to go to private schools. And this time around, in the book, it was revealed that his father is a corporate lawyer. Like, okay. And not only does he live in New York, he lives in Manhattan. Now, I don't know how much houses or apartments cost in the 1950s in New York, in Manhattan, but I can't imagine it being, accessible to just middle class. So it's safe to say that Holden is at least upper middle class. I mean, he is upper middle class. He is upper middle class. Because I don't think his mother works. Probably not back in the day, I don't think. So yeah, he is rich, and he is also a lot richer than his friends. Because he brought up a story in one of the private schools that he went with, that his roommate wasn't as rich as he was, and he felt guilty / felt kind of bad that he had a better suitcase than his roommate did. So that just goes to show that he's probably really rich. And not to mention, okay, so now I've said that he goes to private school, his father's a corporate lawyer, and he and his family lives in Manhattan. And just the way he spends money, like, we all know that he's like irresponsible and stuff, but he takes a cab everywhere, like in New York, and he spends so much money on drinks. He's just reckless with money, and that's just another sign that he is just like really rich. And what else? When he went home, he mentioned that there's a maid at home. He has a maid at home. So yeah, I guess I just didn't realize how rich Holden was when I was 16, and now that I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, no wonder a lot of people, don't like this book, or they don't relate to Holden, because Holden is basically a spoiled brat. He really is. So yeah, that kind of makes you feel less sorry for him, doesn't it? I mean, I still really like him, and I still really like the story. It's just that I'm seeing him through another lens, and the emotions that he went through are relatable, but certainly not his class. Like, class as in money, like where he is in society and his socioeconomic status. He is not as relatable as I had thought he was. So yeah, he's a rich white boy complaining about how horrible his life is, which can sound very privileged. So yeah, I guess I can really understand that if you're reading this as an adult, or if you're reading this as a teenager but you're like very socially aware, you might not find this as relatable, and you might like question why this is considered a classic. Like, wrong with being like a rich white boy. I'm just saying that it's not made to appeal to everyone, I guess. Moving on to my second point, at one point he met up with one of his seniors, I guess, in one of the schools that he went to, and he found out that this guy, I forgot his name, I think it was like Luke or something, and he found out that Luke was dating a Chinese girl. Actually, before that, he was asking some really creepy questions. He kept asking Luke how his sex life was, and he kept oversharing his non-existent sex life, which, all I'm going to say is that I know at 16, you're probably really horny, but at the same time, it's like really creepy to ask someone that you haven't seen in a really long time how their sex life is, and continue to ask it when someone tells you to stop. So I have to admit that Holden, not only can he not read the room, but he is really creepy. I'm not going to lie. He is creepy. Like, I get it. He's a teenager, and I get that that's the point. But then at the same time, he was staying over towards the end at his old English teacher's house, which I still can't remember his name. I think it was like Anto something. Can't remember. But in the middle of the night, he woke up, and then he realized the teacher was petting his head. And he got really freaked out because he thought that he was molested, I guess. I wasn't sure. He's a really unreliable narrator, so we can't trust everything that he is saying. But at the same time, if this teacher didn't have any ill intentions, let's just assume that Holden was just being, freaked out and for no reason, really, then what was the teacher doing? Like, that was never answered, and I am really curious. What was the teacher doing? Why was the teacher petting his head? Was it because he was running a fever? Or, like, what was the reason? I really wanted to know. And to be honest, I did find it a little creepy. I mean, I don't blame Holden for, like, jumping up and, like, getting all, like, nervous and stuff, because what was he doing? You know? Why was he petting his head? And to be fair, this teacher didn't seem exactly stable either, because he was, like, drinking a lot while he was talking to Holden and stuff. So, yeah, I guess we'll never know. And I wish I could ask J.D. Salinger. I wish I could ask him himself, like, what was the truth? What was happening in that scene, you know? And it was hinted at that Holden had some previous encounters with perverts. Again, he's an unreliable narrator, so we don't know what the truth is. But then, you know, that part was never really elaborated on either. So it was just, I just thought that was an interesting scene. And I don't see people talking about it. So, yeah. That is basically my roast. I could probably think of more points, but those are the only ones I can think of right now. Please let me know if you've noticed other things that you'd like to point out in this book. Because even though it's my favorite book, it's definitely not perfect. So, yeah, feel free to tell me what you thought was questionable in this book. And thank you for joining me in my eyebrow plucking time. You know, self-care, they say. Plucking eyebrows is self-care, I guess.